I give a damn, and
Yeah.
that's so rare
Yeah.
that people meet me with skepticism until they get me better. And I'm like, well, that's just where that person is.
Yeah.
They don't understand genuine love
Oh yeah.
being received from a genuine person.
Oh yeah. That's an INFP thing, man. People are always taking this for granted. Like, oh, is he really this nice? Oh, I don't know. Let me test him. Let me test him or the tester.
Oh, yes.
I get
Let
that a
me
lot.
push those buttons. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
Exactly. They
okay.
just want they're so evil at their core that they what it is there is a fog of humanity that has covered over the light of their soul, right? And
Yes,
so they
yes.
become lost in this world. You know what I'm saying? And so they're not able to find their own God spark. And as you know, it takes the light to see the light. You know what I'm
Right, right. That is so frustrating.
saying? It is, yes.
And I used to do this energy wasting practice where I would try to get certain people to understand where I was coming from on my level,
Mhm.
and they just could not. And it used to frustrate me. And then something just spoke to me one day, and it was just like, look, they are not capable of understanding what the hell you're talking about. They're not there,
Mhm.
and they likely never will be. And see, I'm finally at that place now as to where I can see that, and I'm way less bitter about it. I used to be really angry about it. Just the whole "what the hell is wrong with humanity" mentality would kill any level of optimism I could have for the day. But like I say, I'm grateful that I'm at a place where I can see that, yes, we need this so-called bad or negative, or I can see that we need that negativity in order for the positive to exist.
For questions, comments, and to show your support, visit us on the web at afroempath.com. Peace. You hear me?
Yes.
So how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So are you nervous? Are you anticipating this call here? Like, what am I going to talk about?
Yeah, somewhat, but I'm doing a lot of positive self-talk, like, oh, don't make it bigger than what it is, that sort of thing. I
so,
have to
you, so
talk myself down.
I figured you'd be doing that. So I've been doing the same thing. I was like, she's probably like, her mind's probably racing right now. Let me ask you this. Did you number one, have you ever listened to our podcast before?
I have not yet. I intend to.
Oh, it's okay. But did you see I had the whole thing where I was looking for people to come on the podcast?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
How come you didn't come on? How come we didn't ask to talk?
Oh, to speak on the
Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah.
I I really don't know what I would speak about.
Hmm.
I'm kind of getting back into who I am.
Hmm.
I've kind of strayed away from it for years. So now I'm just trying to pick back up on tapping back into, my empath abilities and not dismissing them the way I used to. And also growing some of my spiritual gifts.
Gotcha. Give me an example of getting back to it. I mean, so were you there and then you stopped, and why did you stop?
Okay, so yes, I was there, especially in my childhood.
Hmm.
I stopped mostly because of, I guess we can call it persecution, ridicule type stuff, um, from, family and whatnot. And so now I'm like, I'm at a point where I'm through weighing other people's opinions about me more than my own, or valuing other people's opinions about me and how I am and all of that. So I'm trying to get back to loving myself, being able to grow in who I was sent here to be or called to be.
Understood.
Um, yeah.
But give me an example of your family background. Like, what did you grow up as? Are they Christian or Muslim or what?
Yes, my family, I was raised as a Pentecostal Christian.
Okay, so they're pretty heavy. That's the fire and brimstone type.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. I've heard about them. We had another sister on here that was from the Pentecostal church. She gave us like a bit of a horror story.
Quite a horror story. I
Hmm.
mean, to the point where now my grandmother, it's in my bloodline, certain spiritual gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Now my grandmother had them, and people referred to her as a witch.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the Christian cover was just to, I guess, not be persecuted by society or by her circle.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, she certainly had the gift of prophecy. I mean, she would see things that prior, long before they would happen, and then they would happen. I'm like, Grandma said this. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just think for my family, it's mostly been Christianity has been sort of I guess, a safe haven for them, or to seem like the rest of society, maybe a conformist type thing. I don't know how to put it into words,
Okay, but
but yeah.
give me an example of how what you began to do began to draw ridicule from them, though.
Okay, well, I would say it started as young as age 2 or 3 for me. I would quote unquote see things,
Mm-hmm.
spirits, speak to them, have, I guess, prophetic dreams. And I would share these with my mother. And she would consult my grandmother, who also had similar gifts, and my aunt, who is also gifted. And but once it got past the three of them, it was like, oh, she's crazy. You need to put her in therapy. Is she on meds and stuff like that? And so I guess to avoid being called crazy or feeling crazy because I was different,
Mm-hmm.
I I just started to sort of write things off as, oh, well, maybe I didn't actually see that or hear that or receive that message. Maybe I am crazy. And so I kind of internalized other people's
Oh
opinions of
no!
me.
When did that start? What age were you during this time?
Oh boy, I would say it started as young as age 6.
Gotcha. So
It's
you
very
began
young.
to have some negative self talk during that time, and I guess you call like spiritual gaslighting. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
You
That's a
know,
good way of putting it.
I've interviewed so many mainly sisters that are empaths, and a lot of times this seems to be it's very common. Your story is very common, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh man, it's terrible because like so let me ask you this. Do you like have you but it what would you say your faith is? Like I'm not because I know your family's from the church, but I know you're trying to now kind of get back to you and your gifts, but like do you still have a base of like the Christian faith, or have you abandoned it completely, or did you get anything from it, or what? Give me an example.
I abandoned it almost completely. There's still some influences. I would say in the way of, say, quoting certain biblical verses, or I do use, I guess, spiritual knowledge from various sources that I've just encountered, whether it's Christian-based scripture or things I like about the Muslim faith or whatever the case. But my current faith, I guess I kind of refer to, divine intelligence, the universe. I call on my ancestors, my spirit guides, things like that. Use lots of crystals and protective stones. And so I guess I don't know how to put it into words. That I've seen it called New Age, but I don't really like that
I
terminology.
wouldn't like that terminology either, because it's nothing necessarily new about it, and
Right.
not for us
Nothing
anyway.
new under the sun here.
Yeah. So what would you describe yourself as though if you were to call yourself like maybe 3 terms or something like that. I always ask people that.
Um, I'd say introvert, empath, and healer.
Ah, those are good. Those are good. Nice. Um, so let me ask you this: like in the Christian faith, they're they're waiting on a Messiah. You know what I'm trying to say? And I guess he's supposed to end this world in a sense, and I guess usher in a new world, right? A new heaven, and a new earth, right?
Yes.
For the old have passed away. Um, like what do you feel about that? Do you think that's something that's illogical to you or plausible to you, or like or like, or have you given that up, or like you're saying, like I'm wondering because if I wonder sometimes if people, if you lose faith in that, I wonder like what then, where does your beliefs go? Like is the universe last, does it last forever, or if it doesn't last forever, who ends it? I'm trying to say that like I wonder
Yes.
how what like what is your thoughts on that, all those things now though?
Well, yes, I've rejected that. And it's mostly because, what's his name? Dr. Phil Valentine. I watch a lot of him, and basically what I have learned through him and kind of internalized is that this earth has gotten rid of many of species before and started over. Earth, in other words, can heal itself. As far as it ending, I that to me is not very plausible, and it's really neither there because in any time soon in my eyesight. What I feel is that the earth, if anything, is going to start over. I mean, look at the damage we're doing to her, you know. It's so we get to be it's too much for her to carry out. Yep, she'll start completely over, eliminate things, regrowth, you know, rebirth, that sort of thing. But as far as it being a literal Messiah coming back and taking selected souls with him to heaven, I mean, that to me, there's a lot of holes in that story that just they don't seem to add up. So no, I don't believe that a Messiah is going to come in the earth or start a new heaven and new earth. I don't believe those things anymore. Um, and my questioning of those beliefs, they started in my childhood, very young childhood. I think I was 4 years old when that started.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and here I am, 35, just to give you a little context of how long ago. Um, But yeah, as far as a new heaven, new earth, I don't believe in that. I believe the earth will cleanse and heal herself when necessary, or if necessary. Like if we don't get our acts together as people, you know, destroying this planet and other forms of life living on it, then yeah, she'll likely start over. And then will people come back? I'm sure. Or maybe we all will not be, you know, will not perish, but maybe, you know, some will be spared just to keep human life going. You know, I haven't really worked out the particulars, and I have several crazy theories of my own. But
It's okay. This is a good discussion. This is a good topic. You know what I'm trying to say? Because
mhm.
I've often wondered what do like, you know, I had a sister come on here and she was like, I'm a pantheist. She says basically she says that I believe that the universe is God. You know,
Yes.
thought it was strange because basically, you know, I come from more of like the Gnostic, Gnostic Hermetic tradition, but I guess you could call that an esoteric Christian. But basically, um, I feel that this is kind of, it's simple but complex. But I feel that in order that I feel that this world, you've heard of you've seen the Matrix movie, right?
Which movie?
The Matrix movie, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and it's funny because you know, Phil Valentine quotes the Matrix a lot. You know,
Hmm.
um, so I'm not sure what he's teaching, but you know, I know he's referenced the movie, but the Matrix was based on Gnosticism, and it was apparently originally written by a black woman who was inspired to write it. You know, I believe her name was Sophia Stewart, and she, you know, basically my beliefs are is that this world, and it's not something I made up. It's just something I've learned from people like you know, I really studied the work of like people like Bobby Hemmett. You've ever heard him?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, a lot of Bobby Hemmett, and I guess his contemporary would be Brother Panic. But like essentially, this world is, I see this universe as an entrapment for our souls. Meaning, I don't feel that this is my home. You know,
Hmm.
um, so my, you know, I'll give you an example. For me, like, you know, I was trying to fight for freedom for our people, you know, in the
Yeah.
physical world, and that brought me to a place where eventually landed me in jail, and I had to you know, submit my I guess the only way I could say it is that I was under so much pain that I had no choice but to surrender that pain to whatever God was. I didn't quite know what God was. You know what I'm saying? I was not religious. I never even prayed before. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I, in a sense, prayed that night in my jail cell that if you whatever you are, if you'll take this pain out of my heart, I promise I'll seek a different way of doing things. You know what I'm saying? And so I was kind of more into Islam at the time, and I just heard a voice that said, humble servant of Allah, humble servant of Allah. You know, it's like just like meaning just humble yourself, and like humble yourself because meaning that there is a different way to go about things. I was going about things like, you know, thinking that I had to free black people through any means necessary, like Malcolm X. You know what I'm trying to say? Like if it meant me becoming a sniper, like I would do that. Literally, I'm not joking. Like
Right.
I was that serious. So the point is that I had to submit my will to the will of something which I could not see, which I realize now was just my own soul, and kind of humble my human self, my human understanding to something I could not comprehend. And then I began to, you know, read the Bible and begin to look at it through I shouldn't say new eyes because I never read it before. I was 30 years old. You know, most people get into Christianity when they're young and are I feel they are hampered, like bogged down by the dogma and the fear and the guilt of it all. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so they're not really getting the message, a lot of the messages of it,
Right.
it's really esoteric in its nature. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes. Yes, it is.
It's supposed to. So what I realized, you know, what I realized is that it's telling a story of now, and it's actually a story that I ended up playing out. You know, so no, so like I was able to look at it and understand the what was happening because it was happening within me. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
So I never saw it as something outside of myself.
Hmm.
So I feel that, and you tell me what you think about this. Like my philosophy is that in order for this world to end, you know what I'm saying? If some people now want that to happen, but if you can imagine that, you know, in the Gnostic understanding that we fell into this world and that we are more powerful in a sense than the God who created this world,
Hmm.
then we would really want to experience a world that doesn't even involve suffering. You know what I'm trying to say?
Right. Right.
Because have you ever studied Hermetic philosophy by any chance?
I've not in depth.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because a few weeks back I reached out to one of our local, I guess, conscious facilities. I don't know what to call them. It's like a basically a house of consciousness type place in Virginia Beach.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a gentleman who was teaching the Hermetic philosophy. And I reached out to see if he was still doing the classes and when, but I haven't heard word back yet. But I've done, I guess, surface research, internet, reading various articles, and discussing with people who are a lot further along as far as knowledge of Hermetic philosophies than I currently am. But yeah, that to answer your question, no, not in depth.
It's okay, but one of those the laws, those are essentially the laws of the universe, right?
Hmm.
And you've seen the Matrix movie, right? Before.
Yes.
So in the Matrix movie, when Morpheus says to Neo that in the Matrix there are rules. Some of them can be bent, others can be broken.
Hmm.
Those rules or those laws are actually the seven hermetic principles.
Yes.
So in this world, there is something called one of the laws is called I believe it's called polarity or
Yes.
duality.
Hmm.
So in this universe, there's always good and evil. So in the
Yes.
Christian understanding, that would be in a sense like and these are, you know, the Garden of Eden. These are stories to explain cosmic events that we couldn't comprehend. So basically we were in a state of perfection with, you know, but we had free will to choose, and eventually a group of beings, so the Gnostic story goes, decided to use their free will to create their own universe.
Hmm.
And I guess in the Matrix, Bobby Hemmett describes it as like, in a sense, our children entrapped us, like entrapped their parents. And I guess in the Matrix understanding it, that would be like the machines taking over the humans,
Yes.
and using their souls. So essentially, in the Gnostic understanding, we are, especially as Black people, we are more powerful than the God that created this universe. In
Hmm.
the Christian understanding, and the Christian understanding is a little bit skewed because the early Christians were Gnostics, but the Christianity today, a lot of the words are not taught properly. So, for example, in the Bible, it says God created the earth in 7 days, and created man in His image and after His likeness. Or said, come, let us create man in our image after our likeness.
Yeah.
So the word there instead of God, it actually is called Elohim, which is plural for multiple gods. Have you heard of that before?
Yes, I have. Mhm.
So the Christianity is supposed to be a monotheistic religion. So isn't it interesting that multiple gods created the universe or the world? You see how that kind of contradicts.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So
Yes.
that's kind of where Gnostic thought comes in, where the average pastor is not going to tell you that. I
Hmm.
mean, if he did, it'd be kind of scary, to be honest. What are you going to have, a little 5-year-old girl in the church and and tell her that, hey, God is the devil? The God, the God that created the world is the devil? You know what I'm saying? How would you drop the matrix on somebody? You know what I'm trying to say?
Right, right,
How would you
right.
explain that to somebody, that this world is that you are a slave to the world? We
Yes.
all know intuitively that we're a slave to the world, but we're not taught it with in a religious spiritual sense. You know what I'm trying to say?
Right, right.
So that's actually what the Hermetic philosophy is about. It's
Yeah,
go ahead.
not to cut you off, I'm sorry, but yes, that's why I wanted to get back into it. It was strange. I was sitting on my bed one day and I was like, I need to find some level of structure for my beliefs
Yes, correct.
because currently they're like, I don't know if you ever seen Flubber with the green sticky monster thing just kind of bouncing all over the room and they had to contain it.
Yeah, I can tell.
That's, yeah, that's basically just because, like I said, I'm just getting back into tapping into something deeper. I had a horrific past 6 years, which we'll get into that at some point. Maybe not on this call, but it
Hmm.
maybe on the retreat. I don't
Yeah.
know. But I'm just now in a place where it's like, oh, okay, I can take a deep breath.
Yep.
I can start to re-explore who Alexis is or who I am spiritually or on a soul level,
Yep.
and put some structure to that, and maybe even share, with others. Because right now I don't have the confidence to share with other people, simply because I don't have a lot of the so-called answers, or whatever we call them. Um, and like I said, it's like I'm starting back at square one. I left that side of myself behind so long ago,
Hmm.
and then here I am trying to pick up the pieces again. And it's like, yeah. So, long story short, it just hit me that I needed to attend those hermetic classes. But I've yet to hear back, so I might just go in person, and that'll be the start of, or the pickup of my journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful that how this to me, that's synchronicity,
Hmm.
because yeah, in order to understand the universe you live in, you got to understand the laws of it. And so when you realize that the universe has laws, you can some people choose to use those laws and live under them, and just be happy. Oh, universe has laws. Let me use this to get a new Ferrari. You know,
Right.
like if you've seen this the secret, it's very, the
Hmm.
West. It's very. It's like they took. They're calling it law of attraction, which is, there's no such thing as that. They're just not saying the seven hermetic principles, because that would give Black people a secret to free themselves, and they can't have that. So what they did with it is they say, well, yeah, just, they said, if just think about what you want, and just be happy, and just, get yourself wealth, so it became all about, you got to be rich. You know what I'm trying to say? It became more monetized, about
Yeah, material. Yeah.
material, yeah, materialism. Exactly. So the whole purpose of it began to they tried to like sweep that under
To
the rug
minimize it.
exactly, to minimize it, exactly. So it went from something that you would teach, that Morpheus is teaching Neo to how to you know you know overcome his enemies. I'm trying to say, which are the agents in the world. And in the Matrix, those agent characters are representations of the demonic forces that go in and out of people. And I'm sure you've experienced that. Most empaths have.
Absolutely. Yes.
And so in the Gnostic, I believe the Gnostic understanding, they call those forces the archons. So the creators of the like the, I guess the father of the Matrix, he'd be like the demiurge, but the kind of those forces that kind of serve him would be the archons, and those are like literally just the forces that move in and out of people, and try and police souls as they come online. And as you'll experience, it's not just it's that those forces work within the church. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
those
absolutely.
those
Yes.
forces work within Christians. I know they've worked within my own mother. Those forces work within these quote unquote traditional African religions too, and this Orisha type thing. A lot of people don't
Oh,
realize.
yes.
A lot of people don't realize that, because again, those Orishas are Earth creators, and so when you understand Gnostic thought, you realize that, oh, Earth creator, that may not be such a good thing,
Right.
or universe creator. It's not if the concept that your soul's entrapped in the universe becomes your foundation, then all of a sudden, okay, well, how you no longer want to worship outside yourself, or and a lot of these people are like, oh, I've been chosen. The Orishas have chosen me to give sacrifice,
Yeah.
all this kind of external worship, whether it's the Orishas, whether it's white Jesus, I'm trying to say,
Right. Right.
anything that takes your power away from you, I'm trying to say, and makes you
Yes.
childlike, is the
Yes.
demiurge, no matter what it's called, right?
Right.
It's the fact that it's taking it outside of you. I'm trying to say,
Yes.
and the thing for me, because I never was indoctrinated with Christianity. I read the Bible with my own mind, and I
Yes.
saw it as a great metaphysical book. It says in the Bible, it says meditation over 20 times,
Yes.
So I'm like, well, it just says Jesus is meditating. He went to the something for prayer and meditation. Why don't Christians
Right.
meditate? So that's the thing, when you realize,
They brainwash the Christians. Oh, you don't need to you just need to pray and beg and ask God for things.
you need, yeah,
Again, speaking to your point of taking power away from the person.
correct, exactly. But you have to understand that the same forces that keep especially black people as the original people, I'm trying to say, our souls, number one, I got to go back to the Matrix. The Matrix is supposed to be a black superhero movie. They again, they took it from a black woman and made it,
Yes.
multicultural.
She sued them and won. Thank you.
Exactly. But that's the point. We are in the Greek mythology, we are the original Titans, meaning that again, like I said before, we have the spark within us to overpower the god that rules us. I guess in the Greek mythology, they talk about Zeus as, they have the Zeus and the Olympians, I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
as these kind of forces that like rain down on humanity, I'm trying to say. And so another correlation that I found is that if you look at the image of Zeus, you'll find that it looks strikingly similar to the image of the white Jesus that they put out. So
Yes.
I don't know. I found it interesting, and actually, I think in the Spanish speaking Latin countries, they call him Jesus, or Jesus. So it's interesting. So I'm just saying the same forces that were put us through whatever the hell we went through in slavery and things like that. Those same forces. They operate within the church. They took over the church. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
So they took over religion, period. Islam, all of it. You know what I'm trying to say? So
Right,
those of us that are out here that are awakened, it's really only a small bunch of us. You know what I'm trying to say?
Right. It really is, comparatively speaking.
Exactly. And then there are some people that are awakened, but they don't have the strength. Really, it's only going to be black people that really can have the strength to be able to do anything, metaphysically speaking, because we have that strength within us. You know what I'm trying to say?
Right.
It's just that God spark is within our DNA. So that's ultimately kind of what I'm trying to do with this, this whole retreat. I'm trying to say is to bring that out, you know.
Yes.
So this is some deep work, you know. I'm glad that I can
Oh,
share it with you,
yeah.
you know.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I you're an INFP, yeah?
I'm sorry.
You're an INFP, correct?
Yes, yes.
Cool. I'm not sure if you knew this or not, but INFPs, like, we are by nature, we are like somebody said something like we have it within us to want to, like, the story of Frodo. He wants to end, he has the ring buried. He wants to end the world, or destroy the ring, whatever.
No, I don't.
You never seen Lord of the Rings?
No, actually, I didn't get into that.
Damn, man, you gotta see Lord of the Rings. But anyway, the point is that we're always, like, just in our nature. It's all we like. I've met a lot of INFPs, and we seem to always, like, gravitate towards Gnosticism, like, and just like finding, like, really, really, really finding the mystery of life. You're trying to say, like,
Yes,
we really,
yes,
really want to know. You're trying to say, like, we really want to know. You know?
yes. And I got to the point of frustration with that. I was like, every time I reach out and I think I'm onto something, there's a major setback. Someone telling me I'm going too deep or too far, or, yeah, trying to police basically my spirit, I guess.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, then where or who can I go to? Someone like me. Where is my refuge? I don't know if that's the right word, but where can I go to go deeper?
Mm-hmm.
And I had gotten so frustrated to the point where I had given up on people. I used to say this thing like, you know what, I hate humans, but it's not true. I don't hate humans. I was just very frustrated with the fact that I felt so alone with the way I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, like, even though Facebook can be a bit jerkish, at
Mm-hmm.
least at least I've been able to connect with and just run across people who are a lot more like me.
Yep.
And so now I don't feel so lost and alone, and I have a source where I can go to with my questions, even if we just speculate some answers. I mean, at least I don't feel so ostracized anymore,
Yeah.
because that's basically been the story of my life. I'm like, man, I'm mocked, I'm ridiculed, I'm treated like I really shouldn't have been here in the first place.
That's beautiful, though, because I mean, that's the story of Christ. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
So you're walking the path, baby. That's the whole point.
yeah,
That's the beauty of it. And, like, when I hear that, I'm just like, oh, that's gorgeous.
yeah, yeah.
But
Because
that's the INFP in me. We're very, we love, we're very poetic. You know what I'm say? We love that. Like, I love that stuff.
yeah,
I do. I really do. I really do. I love a good hero story. You know what I'm trying to say? Or a good. So it's like,
that's funny. That was a term that I was seeing a counselor a few years back when I was very active in my drinking addiction or whatever. That was a thing. That's part of my path. I turned to numbing out instead of, I just didn't know what else to do. So I
mhm.
turned to numbing out. And I had an addiction counselor and um, a social worker and people working with me. And so the social worker was like, you're on the hero's journey. Why don't you order this book and read it? And I was like, oh my goodness, like, this guy, he's on some next level stuff. Because the average counselor that I've seen anyway would not have referred me to that book, would not have encouraged the principles I had presented in front of him, and this was an old white man. And I
Mhm.
was just like, what? So it was kind of just refreshing and also reassuring.
Yeah, I've had some old white men say some profound shit to me. So it
Yeah,
just
yeah.
depends on where you're at and what God calls them to say. I remember when I was in jail, and it was actually a white guy that recommended that I read the Bible. You know,
Yeah.
so I was like, okay, well, that's confirmation right there. So yeah, I'm happy for you, because I was being nosy, reading your timeline, and you said something like, I haven't found my soul tribe. Everybody seems to be finding theirs.
Yeah, yeah. I was just feeling really discouraged because, okay, I joined another Facebook group
Mm-hmm.
for, I think it's called Brujas or something like that, Black witches or Afro Latino witches type
Mm-hmm.
group. And then there was apparently an incident. Someone violated rules, which obviously you should not share anything from a closed or private group publicly. Don't know where they got the idea from to do that, but the person violated the rules. And then the admin and one of her moderators were highly upset, understandably. But then the moderator made a comment like, truth be told, many of you are undeserving to be in this group. And that hit me in my soul. And I was like, that's hurtful. That hurt my feelings. She may or may not have been talking about me. I don't know. But I felt like I joined this group so that I could grow in what it is I believe I was sent here to do, or to grow in my spiritual gifts, if you will. I
I
don't know
hear
what else
you.
to call
I
them.
hear you.
But then when you make a statement like that, it's like, man, I'm in a group of people who are led by ego.
Thank
And
you.
I'm
Thank
and
you
I'm
for
trying to come
realizing that.
away from
That's exactly it. Thank you. Them witchy bitches have no fucking clue. I'm telling you right now. Telling you right the fuck now. They're idiots. Period. Seriously.
and that's the impression I got. I went,
They are
wow.
idiots. Listen. I interview empaths for not a living, but almost every week. You know what I'm trying to say? And I'm telling you right now, they don't know shit. They don't know their head from their asshole. I'm telling you right now.
Mm.
I'm telling you right now. The deepest metaphysical thing that separates little girls from women and little boys from men is Gnosticism, which is just Egyptian thought, which is
Yes.
simply this: this world is not your home. Now, how do you get out? That's
It's
it.
funny that you bring that up, because I was sitting there thinking about that the past maybe 2 to 4 days, possibly 5 days. I'm like, this is like a stopping ground. My soul is supposed to do something. And I just started calling out, like, look, would you show me what it is that I'm supposed to do here in order to advance to the so-called next level, or however you want to put it? I'm like, show me, give me a sign, some information, something. So I've been kind of tapping into, my tarot cards. I'll do readings, I'll do meditations, I'll journal out my feelings. I do struggle to quit smoking cigarettes, but I've done a lot better with that. I only smoke it in the evening, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I know that is a hindrance to my growth and
It's
progress,
okay.
which is why I am dedicated to quitting.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, well, we're going to do XYZ. We want to invite you, but we can't have any smoking. That's fine by me. I can go without smoking. But
Mm-hmm.
for some reason, I keep going back to it. And that's the area that I'm working on now. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what it is. Possibly an avoidance of past trauma, feelings from past trauma,
Mm-hmm.
which I have plenty of. I'm sure you understand, being, an INFP yourself. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So you know what? Let's talk about that. Fuck it. We got about a half hour left. Tell me about some of this trauma. When did it start?
okay, I would say now this is a little sketchy in my mind. Wait, give me a second. I'm gonna step back outside, so
Sure.
I'm not speaking in the house. I'm sorry. One moment.
Okay. Take your time.
Okay, so the earliest recollection that I have of trauma was sexual trauma, and I believe I was 2, maybe 3 years old, and it involved one of my cousins. And the reason why I feel it was sexual trauma is because this particular cousin, I was home alone with him. He's, I would say, at least 7 or 8 years older than me. Like I said, I was 2 or 3. He called me into my grandmother's living room. And then I hate to recall it, but I need to. He asked me to do a certain dance that in hindsight was sexual or sensual in nature. And then I blacked out. So I feel like I was sexually violated by him first. And then his sister, again, both of these are my cousins. His sister sexually violated me maybe 2 years later when I was 4. And then it became sort of a pattern. Several of my cousins and family friends, and I mean, molestation and rape was, I guess, basically where my sexual trauma started, and I'm still healing from it. It has not been a pretty healing process. It's been, initially it manifested as just promiscuity in
Mm-hmm.
me. And then nowadays it's like I struggle to control that. And like I say, I've tried things like meditation, and I still meditate, but I don't know what more or what I could do different or something to just um, move beyond that
Mm-hmm.
trauma. But that's where the sexual trauma started, and then there was just a lot of psychological abuse, manipulation by my parents and step parents. And it's ironic because well, I guess it's ironic in a sense, not fully. People are like, oh, well, you were sexually violated. Was it someone close to you, a parent, or no, it wasn't anyone that close. It was a cousin who really I can count on one hand how many times I saw this particular cousin. So it wasn't someone who was that close. It was someone, but then at the same time, I did not feel empowered to tell my parents. So what does that say about my relationship with my parents, who are now both deceased?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like all these levels and compounded trauma and grief, because I lost my mother, my father, and my stepmother over the course of the past 6 years, and I just think it was when I'm in my so-called balanced mind, I can see a blessing in their passing. And a lot of people are shocked to hear me say that. I remember I had gotten intoxicated a few years back, and I told my fiance, I said, look, I'm glad my parents are dead. And he was like, what? You don't mean that. But then when I sobered up and he told me what I said, I was like, well, I think what I meant was I feel a sense of relief. I can now come into myself. I don't have to hide or be something that's pleasing to them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I can get back to Alexis, and I can grow, and I can heal, and I can learn and apply these lessons to my current life without having to be concerned about anyone else.
Yeah, I can feel that from you emanating, by the way.
I'm sorry?
I can feel that from you emanating, just in general, like just your posts on Facebook. I'm like, she seems free, you know?
Yes. I mean, thank you for noticing.
Yeah.
It's like this, I told my youngest sister, I think it was a year or two ago, I said, for the first time in my life, I'm happy to be alive.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I can tell, and we're so happy, because there was a prior suicide attempt shortly after my mother passed. And I resolved to myself before I took the pills, I said, look, and I spoke it out to the universe. I said, one of two things is going to happen. Either this is going to kill me and I'll be relieved of this physically, or I'm going to be saved and I'm going to grow and become better from this. And that's the latter happened, fortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, it was meant, in a twisted way, it was meant for that to happen, for confirmation. I was like, what kind of a God would, just going off and being angry all the time. I was like, what kind of God would send me here for this bullshit? Excuse my French, but that's the way I
It's
felt.
okay. I understand completely.
And when it was like, okay, no, you're going to survive this, because I do have better for you, or this universe, this experience does have better for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've gotten to a point where I understand that the first half of my life had to be just arduous and difficult and painful and traumatic for something more beautiful to grow and come out of that.
Correct. Exactly. That's why Hermetic philosophy is calling you, baby.
Yeah.
It's calling you, because that polarity. You're ready to get to the other side of the other side of the swing to it. You know what I'm trying to say? Meaning that, so with what it says, is so there's polarity. Everything has its poles, but there's also another law called rhythm, right? So like the swing to the pendulum of to the right is the swing to the pendulum to the left. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Meaning that as shitty as your experience can be,
Hmm.
that also is the degree that your life can be fucking just sublime.
Yes,
How does that sound?
absolutely. That sounds wonderful.
Exactly.
And I've
Exactly.
had that revelation like very recently,
Yeah.
I guess within the past year or two, and I'm like, I'm finally excited to be alive. I've
Exactly.
never been excited to be alive.
Exactly.
I thought I would live out my life in depression and woe is me
No,
mentality.
man, that's the beauty of it all. Falsehood can only last but for so long, right? Because
Right.
the only thing, the truth is eternal. Falsehood is finite. So
Hmm.
no,
Hmm.
the only thing that is eternal is your soul, and so your soul. One of the things that it's hard for me to understand, and I think it's hard for all of us as empaths and and alchemists, is that we go through things for this, like our bodies, our vessels go through things and go through pain and hurt and anguish for the soul, not for the body. You know what I'm trying to say?
Exactly.
And that's it's hard for us to comprehend with our finite minds. You know what I'm trying to say? But that's what we're here to do. Our what we're calling God is actually our souls. And so yeah, we got but ultimately what we're realizing is that what um there is a way out of this. You know what I'm trying to say? And it's coming, but you've gone through a process to show you. Now, if people that haven't experienced your pain, they're also not going to be able to experience the revelation of your spiritual enlightenment either. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
So
Yes.
it's all part of a process, and it's an honor to speak to someone like yourself because hearing your story and sharing your story makes a lot of people feel less alone. It makes me feel less alone.
Yeah, likewise to you. It's nice to talk to you. I mean, it's almost like two old friends who haven't seen each other in a while. It's like, oh yeah, I can relate to all of what you're saying. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like so um not just welcoming, but familiar.
yeah,
Like,
I agree.
okay, I'm supposed to be right here, right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could, I
So
could,
yeah.
I could feel, I mean, I'm very intuitive. I could feel that, like, just like you always heart everything. I'm like, I like this girl. I don't know, I like her. Like I really like her.
Yeah. I started doing that because I was like, with all of my pain and anger and rage on the surface, below all of that is love.
Yeah.
Really, everything I do, say, give my energy to, or my time to, all of that is from a place of love. I,
Hmm.
I really have no other ill intentions or ill will or anything like that. It's really because I give a damn, and
Yeah.
that's so rare
Yeah.
that people meet me with skepticism until they get me better. And I'm like, well, that's just where that person is.
Yeah.
They don't understand genuine love
Oh yeah.
being received from a genuine
Oh
person.
yeah. That's an INFP thing, man. People are always taking this for granted. Like, oh, is he really this nice? Oh, I don't know. Let me test him. Let me test him or test her.
Oh, yes.
I get
Let
that a
me
lot.
push those buttons. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
exactly. They just
okay.
want they're like they're so evil at their core that they what it is there is a fog of humanity that has covered over the light of their soul, right? And
Yes,
so they
yes.
become lost in this world. You know what I'm trying to say? And so they're not able to find their own God spark. And as you know, it takes the light to see the light. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
That's why our conversation seems so familiar because we're two self-realized aspects of the eternal God experiencing itself, right? But other people
Hmm.
that have lost that spark in the fog of humanity, they're looking at you like almost like a monkey. You know what I'm trying to say? Like so, if a monkey sees some kind of human trick, he'll be like, what the fuck is this? Well, let me throw some shit at it. Let me try to scare it. Let me do an animal thing, an animal gesture. You know what I'm trying to say? Based
Right,
upon my understanding, and in my understanding, fear of death or fear in general is the highest form of intelligence. You know what I'm trying to say?
right,
To dominate
right.
you. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
And
Hmm.
so what it is a lot of times, a lot of these people are sent into our lives to test us. You know what I'm trying to say? You know,
Yes.
realistically, because like I said, the first Matrix example and the demon example, they are they're susceptible to being taken over. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming in your life you've had this happen several times where people come to you and they're saying something that only somebody that wants to get into like destroy you or break you down, but no. And it might seem completely out of character for them to say, correct?
Mhm. Yes, yes. Hmm.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Man, we have that happen all the damn time.
Yes.
It's been getting better for me now though, because now I'm like fully aware of who I am. You know what I'm trying to say? Before I was just like, why are people so fucking mean? You know, or why are people, you know, like what the fuck is wrong with people? It's like I feel like I'm fucking like I remember when I was like 12, and I was in this all like pretty much all white school, pretty much. It was very country, and I had come from the suburb, like a different town before. It was more suburban. Anyway, the way the kids acted was just so strange. And I said to myself, after a certain situation happened, I said to myself, because I guess it was the way that people acted that I couldn't understand. I was like, am I Christ, or am I Jesus? That's because that was the only thing I could say to myself to comprehend why people are so screwed up. I knew, meaning the point I'm trying to make is I knew I was different. I didn't know I didn't know how to quantify it. I didn't know the verbiage, but I didn't know what an empath was. You know what I'm trying to say? I just knew that people just seem as if they are just like so fucking cookie cutter. Like how can people not think for themselves, you know?
Right. That is so frustrating.
It is, yes.
And I used to do this energy wasting practice where I would try to get certain people to understand where I was coming from on my level, and they just could not. And it used to frustrate me. And then something just spoke to me one day, and it was just like, look, they are not capable of understanding what the hell you're talking about. They're not there, and they likely never will be. And my mother tried to tell me all my youthful life, and my early adulthood included, she would try to tell me, you're just not going to meet a lot of people who understand you initially. She's like, when you're older, you will. I don't know how my mother knew this, but she knew. I mean, well, I guess, like I was speaking on my grandmother's gifts, my mother had the same gifts. She was so afraid of them that ultimately it killed her.
Yep.
And, but when she would say things like that, I'm like, well, I sure hope she's right. I said, well, I'm just going to keep going then, and just keep trying. And then from there, hopefully one day there will be a breakthrough. And I thought college would be my breakthrough. Absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
So here I am, like, 12, 13 years after college. And I'm like, I'm just now finally meeting people who understand me, maybe within the past year. And it's been interesting. I'm like, man, if I knew then what I knew now, life would have been less painful. I could have wasted less time.
Nah, don't think about it that way, man.
Yeah.
No, don't think.
I still struggle with that.
Don't think about it that way, man. Don't think about it that way. Listen, you're having a finite, temporary human experience, aren't you?
Yes, you're right.
Thank you. You're having a finite, temporary human. You will die, guaranteed, no doubt. There's no doubt in my mind. You will not be here forever. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so all that pain you went through had a purpose, no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And see, I'm finally at that place now.
Yes, accept that, man.
Yes, to where I can see that, and I'm way less bitter about. I used to be really angry about it. Just the whole "what the hell is wrong with humanity" mentality would kill any level of optimism I could have for the day. But like I say, I'm glad that I am where I'm at now, and I know from here it's only up. I mean, I can't go back. I can only go forward.
Exactly.
And so I'm grateful. I really am. I'm grateful for all of it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess what it is for me is that I gotta say this for people listening to me, the show, like my podcast, and I've said it before, but I don't think people really understand how like lonely my life in a sense has been. But it's not. I would like, as I look back on it, it's not necessarily lonely because I always knew that I had my soul, which is God. You know what I'm trying to say? So yes. I was just nursing that. You know what I'm trying to say? And I just had that idea that I had to bring that little the Bible says that little mustard seed. I had to I had
Yes.
to I had to really just like, have faith in that little mustard seed to grow within me. You know what I'm trying to say? And so
Hmm.
I've been doing that, like a lot of meditation, and not really having many friends. And I speak about it now with such positivity that I think people might not realize that how shitty and depressing my
Yes.
life has been. You know what I'm trying to say? It's not
Yes.
has not been fun, man. I haven't like I don't really have any friends. You know what I'm saying? I don't really
Same.
leave my
Same
house
here.
other than to go shopping. I don't go out anywhere. You know what I'm trying to say?
Mhm.
So I'm just saying that, like, like that is what real metaphysical and occult inner work looks like. You know what I'm trying to say? As opposed
Yes.
to, these like you said, they get these little witchy brew job women up here just trying to create ego identities.
Yes.
That's the difference, And I gotta say this is that, like, Bobby Hemp was saying something about, like, what the demiurge actually is, and basically what he said actually what it actually is forms of ego outside of the body. That's what demons really are. They're forms of ego outside of the body.
Hmm.
And so what ego is actually an expression of free will. And
Hmm.
that's something that we have to. I know for myself, I had to, like I said before, when I was in the jail cell, I had to submit that. Meaning my will was to, I gotta say black people. I gotta say black people. I gotta, like, in a physical way, that with my, with my arms, my legs, my feet. I'm trying to say, in my human rational brain,
Yes.
I'm going to save black people. I'm going to, apparently, with my physical body, you know, stop jet fighters and tanks, and, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying,
Right.
like, so I'm just saying that, like, I had to submit my understanding and my human logic to my soul, which actually could do that. You know what I'm trying to say?
Hmm.
If if
Hmm.
if I humble my human self, you know what I'm trying to say? And so what you'll realize is that in this occult world, it's the people that are actually the most humble, you know what I'm trying to say, that have
Yes.
the greatest spiritual power and the greatest spiritual gifts.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. And then the other school of thought are those who are just trying to cultivate ego energy. That's pretty much it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's exactly. And to do that, they're gonna need a following. They're gonna need to keep you, like, oh, I'm the big god, you're the little god. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yes.
gonna be a lot of that shit. You know?
Yes. And I'm grateful that I'm at a place where I can see that now.
Yeah.
I can see that, yes, we need this so-called bad or negative, or I don't know, the proper terminology for it, but
Yep.
I'm at a place where I can see that we need that negativity in order for the positive to exist, and vice versa. I mean, one can't exist without the other,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly. Yeah. I think the quote that I'd like is to say is that, like, we need a foe in order to know our strength. You know what I'm trying to say?
Right, right,
That's pretty
yes,
much it. We needed a foe to know our strength, and so that's kind of that's in a sense, I mean, the universe. You can there's so many ways to look at the universe, but in terms of, how I like to look at it, it's like that's pretty much it. Like, like, ultimately, there's no way for them to win anyway. You know what I'm trying to say?
right,
Because, again, we have the seed of the eternal God within us, and the universe is finite, so it's not possible for them to win. You know what I'm trying to say? So
right,
it's literally just a matter of time. That's one of the you've seen Peter Pan, at least you've seen that one, right?
yes,
So you see how, like, that Hook is afraid of this crocodile that has a clock in it. You know what I'm trying to say?
hmm,
Because he knows that he's still subject to time. You know what I'm trying to say? He knows that time is something that is not on his side. You know what I'm trying to say?
right, yes,
That's a good, like, motif that I like to kind of draw upon. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And so ultimately, like, now like you're saying before, like, your spirit is becoming, kind of like your childlike spirit is beginning to come back online. You know what I'm trying to say? And
yes,
like your useful spirit. And I know a lot of, us as INFPs, we have kind of, no matter how old we get, we always kind of have a certain youthfulness about us, a certain innocence, a certain childlike innocence. You know what I'm trying to say?
yes,
And I really, as first of all, just, on a personal level, it's a pleasure and an honor to meet you. And,
Likewise.
yeah, I really hope, I think you're getting it, but I just want you to know that, like, you do realize that they were trying to break that within you, right? That the innocence early on.
Oh, absolutely.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Eh, That's another thing that I think about a lot. I'm like, I used to think along the lines of, well, what does it do for them to try to break me?
Yeah.
But now I'm at a place where I'm like, they feed off of that shit. That's just what they
Correct.
do.
That's exactly
They
it.
can't help it.
That's exactly it. Well, they're again. Remember, they're in the Matrix. It says, I think it says something like anybody that is not awoke is a potential agent. You know what I'm trying to say? Is a potential enemy.
Yes.
So again, those people are able to be taken over. You know what I'm trying to say? So they had that spirit within them, and again, those spirits, those demiurge or archon spirits, they feed off of your anxiety. They feed off of your fear. You know what I'm trying to say? They feed off of your doubt, even. You know what I'm trying to say? So anything that'll make you, that's why the Agent Smith always, he never Agent Smith always called Neo Mr. Anderson. You know what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
He's like Mr. Anderson, because meaning he always wants you to they always want you to think more human, more their slave. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? So that's the thing. It's the same. It's been that your situation your entire life, where you always want to kind of take the training wheels off, but you have people saying, no, you can't do that, you can't do this, and that's fear, putting fear and guilt into you about wanting to know and wanting to grow beyond the limitations of your current spiritual limitation. So
Absolutely. This is so refreshing and confirming.
mm-hmm.
It's just nice. I don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, shoot, boy, I would love to speak to you again if you want. But I mean, yeah, I'm gonna add you to the group, whatever. And it's a ways away, this whole retreat thing. But yeah, this is gonna be awesome. just for me to meet you would be enough reason to go.
Right. Yeah, I cannot wait to see what else is gonna go down during the retreat and who else I might encounter. And I just love really good conversation. That is not surface stuff, but like deep stuff like this is really it's good confirmation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's eye-opening. It's a breath of fresh air. It's awakening. I love it all.
Well, yeah, likewise. So I mean, I don't want to hold you up anymore. I mean, so yeah, I guess I hope we speak again soon, and God bless you. And I'm just an awe to be in your presence, and until we meet again, until we speak again,
Yeah, likewise to you. All of what you said.
All right, peace, sister.
Peace.
If you or anyone you know would be interested in spiritual life coaching, email afroempath@gmail.com or visit us on the web at afroempath.com for more information.